friends, how you doing? Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. Today we are building a Montana inspired family home for the Hayes family. I wanted this house to feel realistic, cozy, lived in, and it's inspired by small mountain towns and homes you might see in Montana area. Less luxury cabin, more practical family house, some warmth to it, a slightly rustic charm, and somewhere where kids grow up kind of feel. It's this big country farm home style, like a ranch home, which also fits in very well in the Chestnut Ridge area, so naturally that's where we're building this time around. Just still working on that save file where I'm building more realistic homes for my Sims to live in, creating Sims and stories to go with them that are just a little different from that typical new save world. I started with the shell first, and I wanted that exterior silhouette to feel believable. Mountain homes tend to be sturdy and practical, so you've got that big front deck to kind of gather around and have a nice family barbecue. And the shape of the home is pretty simple and straightforward. It's honestly more or less just a box, but we add some angled walls on the front and that extra little bit of character to just make it feel less boxy and more inviting for a family to want to buy this home and grow here. I feel like the proportions are realistic and enough room for the family that I have intended to live here to grow. They are standing out front there, and they do have a son with them, just one child so far and their dog, but the home feels kind of large enough to maybe entertain the idea of more in the future. And I'm always trying to imagine how a family would actually move through the space when I'm building it, so I try and keep that in mind, because I do tend to build smaller rooms than maybe some do. I see a lot of big, massive open spaces in some of the homes I've looked through on the gallery, or even just, other YouTube videos I've watched. And I feel like I differ a little bit in wanting the spaces to feel a little more cozy, so I give myself less space to decorate. But yeah, I think this one is spacious enough, and I did still want that cozy layout, but I feel like I was realistic about it. The roofing really, I feel, helps sell the Montana vibe with that big giant overhang, the low drop to it. I wanted something that looked practical for weather too. They do get snow that way, and I was leaning into the mountain town architecture. This home kind of reminds me of homes I see up in cottage country when I go to my family cottage in the summers, and it's got that just warm feel to it. I feel a little repetitive in saying that, but I guess I can't get my point across enough. I do love the door that came with, I want to say it was Adventure Awaits, with that window down the side, because it's not this massive door, but you still have light poking through. And the exterior finishes, I more or less wanted very natural tones. There's lots of browns here. Not much color popping through even the windows. I tried to make them somewhat match the wall finishing that I picked. It feels very established, and I wanted this home to feel like, the family living here. Just so I can stop saying the family living here. They're going to be the Hayes family. Has just made it their own over time. Things break, they slowly fix them kind of thing. The windows and doors, I was very focused on bringing in as much natural light as I could, so that's why we picked very large windows. I feel like the landscaping around this lot kind of works with it, because you're not worried about your privacy. It's country farmland. The carpeting that I did in the living room is kind of interesting. I feel like it reminds me of an older build maybe, where they have the rooms sectioned off still, but maybe a wall was knocked down to open up that space a bit more. And I feel like the scenery just makes the space feel bigger anyways. I did use platforms on the outside to get that build up to the door rather than using a foundation, so I did have to play with it on the inside a little bit too because it wasn't quite matching, but we got there eventually. When it comes to the interior of the home, I wanted to bring those natural earthy tones in, so there is a lot of brown and neutral inside as well, mostly in the flooring with the hardwood and the beige carpeting. This is kind of where the home starts to feel lived in once we start getting the light fixtures in and little bits here and there. It's not a construction zone anymore. I was avoiding anything overly modern. The goal here was a cozy family home atmosphere, and I just imagine this being the kind of home that people come back to for the holidays years later. You know, I'm in my 30s now, and since, you know, first Christmas, I've been going to my grandma's house, and I know she's getting to the point where she doesn't want to host this growing party every year, but it's just comfort at this point. We all like gathering there, and it feels like home to more and more of us every year. And, you know, one day I might take over or someone else might take over, and I feel like it just won't feel like the same Christmas if it's not at my grandma's house. And that's very much what I wanted to start to build here. You know, this is just a younger couple with a toddler, but when that toddler grows up, maybe their future siblings grow up, they're all still going to collect here at their childhood home. And it just feels very warm and inviting, very realistic in the finishes. I tried to make it feel lived in as well. You've got some of the toddler toys sprinkled in the living room. It's not a picture perfect, stage ready home. They're not moving. This is where they come home and, you know, unwind at the end of the day. They don't have that perfect prim and proper look to it. But the Sims that do live here do like to keep it as neat and tidy as they can. So while it is cluttered in the sense that it's definitely somewhere that a family lives, it's not cluttered in the sense that they feel like they can't breathe because there's just stuff everywhere. The dining area is kind of this middle point in between the living spaces. I feel like even though that's technically the front door there, they probably use one of the side doors more often. One side's going to have a mudroom off of it, so obviously when they're home and working out on the yard with the animals, they're going to use that door so they can brush off the muddy boots. And the other door off the living room, I kind of made feel a little bit like an entrance as well. So I don't know, your Sims are going to walk in any door they please, so I kind of made them all look like they were used and lived in. Yeah, we're going to move into the kitchen shortly. The family spaces in general, I wanted to feel like they were all gathering spaces. This isn't a go to your room household. Everyone kind of wants to be around each other, at least still. I feel like once you hit the teen years, you know, you don't want to be around mom and dad anymore. They're not cool. And of course, we've got some space to fill, and this china cabinet, I want to say it's cats and dogs because the texturing on the wood, but I find it so beautiful, and every time I want to use it, I happen to have the lower wall height, and so I was so happy that this build, it worked. It fit the space perfectly. It's the look I want to go for, that farm country feel, and it ties the whole thing in together. This is a very nice kitchen. I would love this kitchen. It's very spacious, and perfect for this family, honestly. It's definitely a gathering space, family meals, homework being done here after school once their kids get a little older, and it's open but still cozy, so you could be sitting at the dining table doing your homework and mom could be knitting and watching TV, and you're hearing each other, but you're not disrupting each other necessarily. I feel like kitchens say so much about the family that's living here. This one's definitely got the clutter throughout to show that, home-cooked meals are a thing in this house, and that's a good thing. I tried to make all the spaces generally feel personal, and I feel like it shouldn't be overly polished. This is a very nice kitchen, but it still feels lived in. There are some things that don't have a home, or maybe they do, but they get used so often that they live on the counter anyways, and that's okay. Popcorn maker for family movie nights, the nice coffee machine, because this is a maybe frugal family. They don't do takeout coffee every day before work. I think I made the dad actually, work from home on the farm. I can't quite remember. We'll have to maybe stay tuned and watch the family video after this one. But he's going to be very dedicated to the family outdoor space. There's going to be some cute farm animals, and it's just a lot of fun to live in a home like this in The Sims. It gives you a lot more to pass the time with. I feel like you don't get so bored that way. This here is the mud room, so we're just using some hutches to fill the space. We made it the laundry room as well. You come in muddy from outside, you can throw your clothes right into the wash. There's no dragging it through the house or anything like that. I naturally use some of the items from Horse Ranch as well, just because it has that rustic wood tone to it, and it just, automatically screams this is a ranch home. And I was very much about clutter in this home, but at the same time not making it feel too cluttered. But I felt like if I didn't go a little overboard in the mudroom, like that's the room that's supposed to be the messiest. So I just kept adding stuff here, but I feel like it all ties really well together. All the cleaning supplies sort of dumped in one place, and a folded basket of laundry to show that we live here, we're not perfect, sometimes we give up on our chores. And like I said, I feel like this is going to be the main entrance, so I wanted this one to feel particularly lived in. When I say main entrance, again, I'm talking more when the family's home. They're outside on that side of the house more than the other side. I feel like this would be a good home to get a horse in as well, but I don't give this family a horse. They do have their dog, but a horse could be something for down the road. Again, we're trying to make the spaces feel more personal, so the nightstands aren't perfectly clean. They have some in the middle tasks, maybe a book that had to be put down at some point. The one has a little notebook there. I feel like maybe they wake up in the middle of the night and document their dreams. They're that kind of person, which is my kind of person. But I like the woo-woo stuff, even if it's just a little bit. I imagine this being a routine kind of home. The mother does like her structure, even though she's not an overly polished person. She likes to have most of her things in place and some semblance of a plan for the day. I feel like their personalities kind of influence the rooms. The bedroom is a little bit more neat and tidy than the rest of the house. The toddler isn't taking over the space with their toys. The dog tends to be more in the family areas because that's where the family is hanging out during the day. Dog's not off hiding in the room. And the decor in here is pretty minimal. I mostly just trying to fill the space at a certain point because I felt like this room was a little bit on the larger side, but I think it all tied together really nicely at the end. And the master bathroom off of this room is very nice. I love the mirror in between the two sinks. It just feels a little bit more, not necessarily glamorous, but a little bit luxury in a lot of country. And I think it looks really cute. The bathroom, again, I felt was on the larger side, and I was just trying to find items to fill the space, but I think I did a good job here. Usually I don't spend this much time in bathrooms, but I think it's cute how that one turned out. I just give them a spare bedroom here. This is kind of the room that I intend for them to have another kid, and that kid can have this room. Or maybe they just continue on with the one toddler who will grow up as an only child, and maybe he moves into this room one day, or it's just where grandma and grandpa, who are somewhat hypothetical because I don't actually create a grandma and grandpa for this family, but this is where they would stay if they actually existed. I am really trying to move away from the builds feeling too perfect and let homes feel more real. So the clutter in this room isn't too crazy, but I felt like throwing the desk in there makes it look like this room has somewhat of a purpose on a regular basis as well. They didn't have, they do have the desk in the living room, but this is maybe a more quiet, secluded space to go and focus if you have some work left over from the day that you wanted to just get out of the way at home. This room here is going to be the toddler's room. I kind of split the room in half, with one portion being a play area, the other area being like the calm down space where the bed is. There's going to be a little chair for mom or dad to read a book to at night, or just sit to have a little bit of quiet time, or even just monitor a toddler play in the bedroom. I had to play around with the layout of the furniture a tiny bit, because by splitting the room in half, it did cut down some floor space, but it felt like everything was very placed purposefully in this build, and I had some fun creating this area for the toddler play space. I like that it's separate and hidden, and the toys are kind of secluded to one half of the room, and it just makes the whole thing feel more intentional. I also have been really pushing to use some furniture items I don't typically use, like this rug, or even some of the toys that I'm placing down. Like, I'm trying to be more diverse in my objects. I am not gravitating to all of the same stuff all the time. Even swatches, I never use the blue swatch on that 3-tier kids shelf. I think it's actually a dresser, but it's always the white swatch with the brown drawers, it's similar, or maybe it's vice versa, but either way, it's the neutral color palette that I always choose. So breaking out of my comfort zone one item at a time, and we are getting there slowly but surely. Very lived in this room, all the arts and crafts that they do, some old baby toys, or like that baby mat, when you have another baby, if you play with the family that does live here, or have them in your game and they naturally have another baby without your influence, then they can pass that down one day. I also never use that horse floor rug, but it was perfect for this one because we are building in Chestnut Ridge, which is the horse expansion pack. So yeah, I don't put a bath in the main bathroom because there wasn't enough space, in my opinion, but I do decorate it like, you know, the kid showers in there. But obviously, you can go give your toddler a bath in mom and dad's bathroom until they are old enough to do that on their own and don't need the bath necessarily. They can go have a shower. Moving into the outdoor spaces, finally, the part I'm kind of most excited to go over, even though it's nothing too crazy. Can't talk there for a second. The landscaping is minimal, in my opinion. A lot of the space ends up taken over by the small farm animals, which you can see I'm putting in now. This barn is for either a llama or a cow. Llama? Maybe it's an alpaca, or you can get both. I can't remember, but we do have a garden space as well, and obviously a chicken coop out at the front. I tried to make it match a little bit, like they put the fence up at the same time with the plan for this homestead lifestyle, which is sort of what this is, in my opinion. You know, this family's working towards living off of the land. They don't want to have to rely on going to the grocery store. They want to grow their own ingredients, know what's going into their bodies, just live off the land as much as they possibly can. I feel like it's becoming so trendy to do that, and I am so on board for the trend myself. I'm doing this sort of thing in my real life, and it's just so much fun, and you feel like you're productive, or like, you know, doing something with purpose for once. I shouldn't really say for once. I do lots of things with purpose, but yeah, just being able to grow your own ingredients is some sense of accomplishment. That's the right word I'm looking for. I fill in any sort of dead space with some trees, some random farm-looking items. I put a cooler outside for the family to have when they're working out on their farm and grab a drink. They've got the clothesline right outside their little laundry room there. I don't put the wash bin here. I feel like they're going to use the washing machine. They don't have time to wash their own clothes with all the other stuff they're doing. But yeah, I'm really happy with how warm and inviting this home feels. It feels realistic and family-centered, and one of those homes that's going to hold its memories. I hope you enjoyed watching this build and download it for your own save files. One day you can download my save file, fingers crossed. But yeah, hang in there. Keep commenting, liking, showing your support. Don't forget to subscribe as well. Stay tuned for future videos. And most importantly, have an amazing rest of your day. Bye, guys!